You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Delighted to be joined as always with Mark Wilson. Mark, how are we?
Fine, thanks, Scott. Interesting Friday night game of football for Kelly. And as I say, a few results yesterday that kind of keep the league very tight. But looking forward to getting stuck into it and some viewers' questions.
Yeah, we've opened the floor to the viewers to get some questions in, and we're also joined by Mark Shankers. Mark, how are we doing?
All right, I'm no bad. I'm looking forward to questions and all of it. I'm just kind of looking through a few of them now. The last time I was asked this many questions, I was in a police room and it was getting recorded.
It was recorded as well.
Right, but as I say, it's a winter break, and obviously there's not as much football on. Obviously, we've got the Championship, League 1 and League 2 that we've covered in last week's show, and there's a couple of questions regarding that. But it's time to find out what goes behind the minds of the Scottish Football Show. We've opened the floor up to the viewers to get some questions in towards us regarding football and stuff to do with the channel, things like that. So we've opened the floor up. We'll start off with the first question. We've got a load of questions as always. It's been really appreciated to get all these questions in. But we'll start with the first one. The first one's from Mark Wilson. Who would Wilson rather win the league, Kelly or Celtic?
And that must have came from someone with a Stuart United connection, I would imagine that question. Well, obviously the answer is Kilmarnock. But I've said from the start, I've said as soon as Kelly went down, I didn't see any problems coming straight back up. And we've discussed at length, obviously, what Tommy Wright did, and now Derek McInnes is undefeated in these 2 games that he's had. But maybe I've got to look at outside the box. If I take the preference at Celtic to win the league, it eases the burden on the NHS. There wouldn't be all the problems in George Square and all the trouble for our emergency services if Rangers were to win it. So 100% Kelly to win the league, absolutely. And as I say, I think it will happen now.
Shankers, this one's for you. We'll get you to answer this, and with three as we'll have a wee answer. Who's the best African player to play in Scottish football? With the African Cup of Nations on, somebody's asked, who's the best African player to ever play in Scottish football?
See, when obviously you sent the questions previously just so as we could try and get a kind of rough guide with some answers. And being a Rangers supporter, I like this player anyway, and because obviously he played with an African nation as well. I like Bugera, Magic Bugera. I thought he was a good defender, but he was also good on the ball, and he scored one of the best goals I've seen at Ibrox. I was actually at that game against Dundee United where he kind of picks it up just inside his own half and he dribbles all the way through and scores. So that was one just off the top of my head. Other than that, I must admit I would be struggling for kind of my era just to try and remember. But being a Rangers supporter, that's one that kind of sticks out as well.
Aye, Bugera's one for me. I would probably just go for Bobo Baldi. I think Bobo Baldi's the one that sticks out for his time at Celtic. Rock solid defender. Momo Salah was one I thought of as well.
He was lightning quick.
Aye, remember him. I think he was better at St Johnstone than he was at Celtic. Wilson, would you agree with that?
He has had a wee spell at Kilmarnock as well.
Aye, so he did.
Momo Salah. I think he kind of made his name was at St Johnstone. Also, another former Kelly player you could look at, Jose Kitongo.
Aye, I thought about him as well.
Not necessarily played with any of the massive clubs, but again, another ex-Kilmarnock player as well. The only one I thought of was Zero Ali.
Aye, Aberdeen. Aye.
I don't watch Aberdeen. I don't know how good he was, but as soon as the question came in, I thought Majid Bugera was the one that I thought of. And obviously giving away a penalty at Ibrox and losing the plot at Parkhead, obviously added to his CV.
Right, this one's a interesting one. Best player you've seen live. Right, I've got 3, but I'll give it to Wilson first. Who's the best player you've ever seen live? Doesn't need to be a Scottish player.
It's such a hard one. I was at the Champions League final at Hampden when Zidane played, and he did play well that game. You know what I mean? Last week, as you know, I was down at Old Trafford watching Manchester United, and Ronaldo played. Yeah, and he is one of the best. Yeah, but he didn't certainly have a good game that day. So I was going to ask you about that question. Is it someone who's performed well, or just the best player that you've seen, even though they might not have played well in that game?
I was going to ask that. Like,
well,
did he play well that game, or is it just somebody that I can say, oh, I've seen him live? You know?
Yeah.
You can. Well, what I thought, the way I looked at it is that the best player, the best performance you've seen. So, well, I just put my three, and then we can go to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, my first one is a player that played for Villarreal at Ibrox, Riquelme. Remember him?
Yeah.
He was different class as well. I've seen Iniesta twice. I saw him for Barcelona against Rangers, and then I saw him for Spain against Scotland. The 3-2 game. Remember they scored maybe 3 minutes to go. Scotland get back into it, and then
Naismith scored, didn't he?
Naismith scored. Right, I've split this into two. I remember going to watch Bolton play Liverpool with the school, and there was two players who had stinking careers at Liverpool, but they were outstanding that day. Remember Andrei Voronin?
Aye.
The Ukrainian guy with ponytails.
I think he scored a double. I need to check, but he scored a double, but he was unbelievable. Remember Alberto Aquilani?
Aye, he used to play Liverpool as well.
He did, I think this was the only good game. His first touch was outstanding. So I've got four. So Shankers, who's the best player you've ever seen live? What's a performance that sticks out? Well, a world-class player.
I had this player done, not because of performance that night, because to be honest, I can't really actually remember. I just know he scored the winning goal. It was a penalty in the 1-1 now at Ibrox. Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney is one of the best football players I've ever seen. Never mind being able to have the privilege to see him live. I seen Gerrard and Torres playing at Ibrox, but that was a friendly with Liverpool. I've been fortunate enough to play against Paul Pogba before. He's all right, although he's gonna.
Speaks very highly of you as well.
He's been doing my estimations recently with all this. He wasn't getting away with dabbing and having dyed blue hair at Somerset that night. That was maybe because Ferguson was still in charge at the time. But off the top of my head, that's probably Wayne Rooney and like Scholes and Giggs and stuff like that played that night as well. It'd probably be hard to go away from that kind of Man United team at that point, because
do you know it was good that day? See that day at Somerset? Remember Ravel Morrison? He was different class that day.
I trained with him at Birmingham for a week, and see, like when you see Ferdinand and stuff like that making doing interviews, and some of the way they talk about him and that. He was absolutely ridiculous football player. Like, I've no idea how he's not playing in the Premier League week in, week out. That's obviously for other reasons other than football, I think. But I think he did a spell at West Ham in the Premier League, and I remember he scored a solo goal at White Hart Lane against Spurs. So he's definitely a talented player that should be playing higher. But I would go right at the top. It's got to be Wayne Rooney for me. I don't like Man United, but he was brilliant.
Just as you touched on the Spain game, I was at the away leg, and that night that was absolutely scored. He gets subbed off after I think 55 minutes, 60 minutes or something. He'd already scored two, and that's Spanish. David Silva.
Silva.
And that's Spanish. The whole Spanish team were ridiculous, and where we were kind of sitting, the bench was like Torres, Mata, Casillas was on the bench. That was the bench. And as I say, Silva on that night was absolutely ridiculous. So probably that performance. Also saw, we were at Everton Arsenal with the school. You're talking about school there. We took a school trip there, and Stephen Naismith scored a hat-trick. Was it Arsenal? Was it Chelsea? Maybe Arsenal.
I think it's Chelsea.
And it was some individual performance that, but I think David Silva would just edge it, to be fair.
David Silva, right? I don't think it's fair for me to answer this question. Who's been your favourite guest in the channel so far? So a show you've been on. Who's been your favourite guest? I'll tell you one of my favourite shows. Maybe the Euro preview show we did with Ryan McStay and Wally Murray. That was a good one. That was a good laugh. Who's been your favourite guest, Wilson?
Well, is Rory Lloyd classed as a guest now? I mean, we've
Aye.
not seen him for a few weeks, but
Judas, he's called now. We call him around these blocks, Judas.
Actually, well, I think Dick Campbell was good fun.
Yeah,
I think
I
he was up for a laugh. It was a good show, that as well. I think we have to give a mention to Daryl Megget, even though he gives me a bit on Twitter when Kelly get relegated. Stephen Aitken, I was really impressed with him. I thought that was a really good show. I thought he spoke very well, and I think he kind of wanted to get involved in the banter, but I think he was very professional in his response to the questions. But there's been loads of good ones.
I was gutted I didn't make the Gordon Duncan one, because I love him on Clyde. Like, see if I didn't training that, I would be sitting in the house glued to that. See, I remember during lockdown when the football that wasn't like our level of football wasn't on, and you were better or less housebound all the time. But Clyde one was brilliant. Was brilliant to listen to. The only thing I would say to him is I wish he didn't sit in the fence as much when he's on there. I think that's his job to kind of give either.
He's the host. He's meant to sit in the fence, Shankers.
I know, but
not that we're used to that, but that's what he's used to do.
I wish he would like maybe give his opinion on things at times, like a lot more. I'm not saying he doesn't give his opinion, but I wish he would almost say what he thinks at times. I was gutted I never made that one, but I liked. We had a journalist on, Hugh McDonald.
That was a good one.
I liked that one. It was a good insight to, like, he was talking about the reputation of like how he got like a good connection with people to then trust managers and players would trust him to do an interview with him because they know he wasn't going to sell them down the river or whatever. So I quite enjoyed that one as well.
Every guest we've had on has been brilliant as well. We hope to return to guests later on in the season. Best non-SM media podcast you listen to, Wilson? What's your podcast guilty pleasure?
To be honest, I'm not a massive fan. The only ones that I listen to is when I obviously can't listen to Off the Ball on a Saturday and Sunday. I usually listen to them when I'm travelling to work or whatever and catch up on them. I know it's not necessarily a podcast. That's I think Tam Cowan and Stuart Cosgrove are fantastic at what they do. That's why it's been running for so long.
I listened to them in Saturday morning for an hour. That was good.
Before I was a wee bit travelling, to games and whatnot. But no, I'm not really. I don't really listen to many podcasts at all. Obviously, once the show's finished and this goes on, I watch myself. And like to hear the sound of my own voice, as most folk will know. But as I say, I see different ones on Twitter and all that other guys do, but. It's a time factor for me to be able to sit and have peace to listen to podcasts.
Shankers, what's your favourite non-SM media podcast?
I think probably Open Goal, because it's Scottish football as well. I like that. I quite like. I've listened to a few James English ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's no football related, but I quite like some of them. Other than that,
I think that's a good point Shankers made, and he kind of touched on his last answer. I think during lockdown, Open Goal did brilliantly.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did brilliantly to get guys. I listened to a few of them, when I was lunchtime at work and whatnot. I remember the one they did during lockdown. It was Slane, Ferry, and Kevin Cowan. It was the 12 or the 10 worst players that have played in the SPL. And it was it was so entertaining. It was absolutely fantastic. So I've heard a few of them, and I went to the live show, but I'm not really a consistent listener to it, if I'm honest.
I've got I've got one football and I've got two other ones. The Total Football Show with James Richardson, that's a pretty good one. That's on The Athletic. That's a good one. That's kind of European stuff.
I got interviewed with them, I think, before the last talks. Before the
I seem to recall that.
Before,
Right. There's an American politics one that's currently, they're doing a series on Bill Clinton. I would recommend that if you're an American politics person, as people will know me and know I am. And there's a good history one as well about Dan Jones for War of the Roses that I'm into as well at the moment. So they're my ones. You didn't expect that one.
I saw on Twitter maybe a week or so ago. I know I guess this guy watches this show as well. He was talking about there's a Sopranos podcast that they do.
Right.
I think the live shows or whatever, the Tour of Britain was cancelled, but they do this podcast thing to do with that. And I loved that series when it was on, the Sopranos. So I might want to try and catch up with.
There's a lot of good podcasts out there. Have you ever considered doing live shows, and do you think it would be good for the channel? Wilson, think we could do a live show?
I think we'd have to speak to you two about your behaviour.
I couldn't. I must admit, I'm quite bad for swearing, so I would have to bite my tongue a wee bit.
With the greatest respect, I think if you were doing live shows, Scott, you should be looking at higher end guests than me, to be honest. Looking at some of the guys you've interviewed over the last couple of years, I don't think you'd be looking for me.
It's something we can definitely explore later on. Let's get into some football questions. The first one, we'll give this to Shankers, and we can obviously chime in. Will Giovanni Van Bronckhorst be able to attract the same level of player as Gerrard did in his time at Rangers?
I think so, because he's well respected in the game and on. Obviously, he's played at a high level, and with some top clubs, Barcelona, Arsenal, Rangers as well. So I think he can. I think that the Gerrard as a name and a brand almost can. If somebody's agent goes to him, Rangers are looking at you, and Derek McInnes is a manager, or Rangers are looking at you, and Steven Gerrard's a manager. But I'm honest, man, I think that's two different, totally different things. So Van Bronckhorst, I think, is get. Not saying he's got his bigger pool, but he's definitely got a similar pool, and the fact that he's worked previously in like Holland and stuff like that, and the assistant Dave Voss has worked with Ajax. Yeah. Roy Mackay's been about the game with top clubs, Bayern Munich and stuff like that. So I definitely think that pool is there. Whether it's to the certain the same calibre of player as what Gerrard was getting in, but I definitely think Van Bronckhorst can pull a player in. I wouldn't like to think they're just coming for them, if you know what I mean. Don't forget, Rangers is a massive club running about the world as well. So I mean, if somebody doesn't want to come and play for Rangers because it's Rangers, and if it's just because it's a manager, then something wrong. But I definitely think he can attract a good calibre of player.
I think you're pretty right. I think as well with Gerrard, there was one thing that stood out whenever, like, Goldson, for example, was a big one that, like maybe Aribo as well. It was kind of what swung the move, and they did say Steven Gerrard. So Van Bronckhorst is another big name. He's another big name that can attract players. Obviously, had a storied career, so that'll be interesting. Wilson,
just on that, in terms of Steven Gerrard, I actually think Van Bronckhorst will be able to attract a bigger name of player.
I think he's good contacts as well.
In terms of that, when Gerrard kind of first came in, I don't doubt there wasn't players that signed for Rangers because obviously it was Steven Gerrard. And over a couple of seasons, they became better players or good players, whatever. But I don't think Steven Gerrard may have the riches if Rangers get the Champions League money. If Rangers win the league and get sent to the Champions League, I think Van Bronckhorst will be able to attract bigger names and better players, possibly, than Steven Gerrard did. Because remember the first kind of few seasons, none of these players set the heather on fire. It took these guys a wee while, to settle. And as I say, the way I look at things is, obviously you've got Pat Patterson's away to Everton. The kind of Steven Gerrard legacy would be possibly Joe Aribo moving to the Premiership, Ryan Kent moving to the Premiership. Yeah, he got them to Rangers, made them better players. So I think it'll be hard because, as I say, I think if Rangers get the Champions League place, they'll be able to attract bigger names, than unfortunately maybe the opportunity Steven Gerrard had because they weren't winning things consistently then.
Yeah. Shankers, give this one to you. Where do Rangers need to strengthen in the January window?
Well, I think they've identified centre half, and they've got Suter in, but whether he comes in this window is a totally different question altogether. In my opinion, I think he will come in during this window. I think it just makes sense altogether. So there, I think they need a midfielder and someone who can play across the front. No like a number 9 or a winger. Somebody like Roof who can play either or. He can play through the middle. He can play in the right or the left. I would say that probably if they were to bring Suter in this window, a midfielder, a centre midfielder. Looks like Lundstram could possibly be away, so I think somebody in the middle of the park, whoever that may be, I wouldn't be sure. I think Ross Wilson and Van Bronckhorst will know where they need to strengthen. But if it was me, that would be where I would bring in a centre half, a centre midfielder, and someone who can play along the front.
I think that's one thing that I've noticed. Probably a right winger, because I do think there is the obviously the Scott Wilson chat was rapid. That looks as if he's going to Club Brugge. I think when you look at kind of that right wing position, it's never really a right winger that plays in it. You like Hadji plays in it sometimes. Roof, I wouldn't say they're out and out right wingers, and I think Van Bronckhorst does play with two wingers. Obviously, Kent. Scott Wright as well.
Scott Wright played in. I think he scored.
He scored against Leon, didn't he?
Was it Leon? I think
so.
So it was. So, I mean, he's got to be looking a bit breaking into the team and take a claim for a place every week, and he's mainly kind of right midfield that he's been coming on, or right wing, whatever, that he's been coming on, and he's got good pace and stuff like that. It's just Hadji and Aribo if he plays there, and Roof, I think they've got a lot better quality than him, but Wright's got the kind of directness and the pace. So I think I'm not sure about just a right wing. I think somebody can play across any of them would be good, because see when you've not got Kent in the left, and it looks a wee bit bare there as well. So I think it's important that you get players that can play across all three. Wright can play right or left. Hadji can do the same, and Roof as well. So I think it's important that you get somebody that can play multiple positions.
Mm-hmm. Well, should I give this to you? What has impressed you so far about Giovanni Van Bronckhorst changing the Rangers team since he came in?
Well, the results. I think he's come straight in. Obviously, the Rangers fans obviously hold him in high regard, the same way they held Gerrard. And I think we did this chat on the show. What's he going to come in and change? Does he drop Tavernier and play Patterson? Does he do this, do that? And he just come in, and as I say, I think the biggest thing is the intensity they played at. I think the kind of latter weeks of before Steven Gerrard left, Rangers were winning games, but performances weren't great. They looked a bit kind of heavy-legged as such. And I think he's just kind of revitalised the team. They're playing at a tempo, pressing high, and beating teams, as they mostly expect at Ibrox, but beating teams comfortably now. Mm-hmm. I dare say he's got a more kind of long-term plan, and things will change. He'll bring in his own players, etc. He said he's got Rangers have got great money in for Patterson. Would I be surprised if one or two others left? No, I wouldn't. But he seems to be reinvesting it. I always think though, I know Van Bronckhorst has only been in the job, a short time, but how well does Van Bronckhorst know John Suter? So he's counted that. I always find these kind of things quite funny. Now Suter's a good player for Scotland now, but I hope he does become brilliant. I mean, I really do, especially for Scotland. But I just wonder if some Rangers fans are thinking, wait a minute here, we've just got X amount of millions in for Patterson. We could, get a jackpot for Aribo or Goldson. Would they maybe not be looking at, no disrespect to John Suter, someone a wee bit maybe a level above?
I think because he's maybe a free agent. He knows the league. I can see that. I absolutely. I mean, he's only 25 as well. Like he's still, maybe his best years ahead of him.
Possibly. I just think it's a wee bit. Sometimes you get these signs. Celtic used to sign You know, Scott Brown, etc., Gary Caldwell, they all became great players, and Rangers have done the same for Kevin Thompson, all that kind of stuff as well. But I just wonder if it's a wee bit underwhelming if maybe not much other business is done in the transfer window for Rangers. But then if they keep a hold, I think maybe their priority is to keep a hold of the players. You know, Patterson was a no-brainer because he's not a starter. So that's an absolute no-brainer. I just wonder if kind of big money comes in for an Aribo or for a Goldson, a Barisic, guys that start, you know, will Rangers be expecting to quickly spend that money on maybe a wee bit bigger names?
What the thing that's caught my eye with Rangers the past few weeks is they're not leaking goals as much. Obviously, not the first conceding the first goal every time. It seems to be more like play for the back. And I think, well, I mean, I said it on here at the start of the season, and I think used to laugh their heads off when I said that it did become a bit stale at the start under Gerrard. It wasn't the same level of football. I think it has. I think Gerrard leaving and Van Bronckhorst come in's improved the kind of attitudes, will we say? Is that maybe the right term? Just, I think there's a bit more of a buzz. I think there's a bit more intensity. It just looks there's a bit more kind of meaning for the team at the moment.
Is that you suggesting that all was not well under Gerrard?
No, I'm not saying all was not well. I just think, like, when you look at like Sir Goldson's interview and things like that, like when he came out and said there was no hunger, I just think I think there was a bit of what's the word? Maybe a hangover for last season. I think there was like, can we raise ourselves to that level again? Is that maybe unfair to say?
Or was it playing in front of crowds? You know,
I don't know if it was as much that, because they did start pretty well. It just obviously, I think the big thing was when Gerrard left and Van Bronckhorst came in, I think Van Bronckhorst maybe came in and said, like, let's see what you've got, because I've not seen a lot this season kind of thing. I think in the next couple of years, like, Van Bronckhorst will want to bring in his own players and obviously freshen up the squad. So I think a lot of these players did. I think he completely changed the way they play as well. I can see more of a kind of conservatism. Like, it's more like build for the back, but I think a lot of Gerrard's play was get the ball forward kind of thing. I don't think there was that much. Like, when you look at like Tavernier and Barisic, for example, that you very rarely saw them kind of defending first and then like attack. It was now I think you've seen a lot more Barisic in particular. He's going to come back and defended more. Is that maybe unfair? I don't know. It's just the way I just think there's a lot more conservatism at Rangers now, and it's like defend first and then the rest will take care of itself.
It's one thing that's obviously clear when they've been winning games, but and no conceding goals. That's probably the kind of main thing that I've noticed. That first and foremost, if you don't concede goals, well, you've always got a chance of winning games of football, especially the players Rangers have got. I would say, in my opinion, I think Rangers have been more direct under Van Bronckhorst than Gerrard. I think at times there was a lot of meaningless football and a lot of passing for the sake of passing under Gerrard, like going inside and then turning out and coming back out and trying to go to the other side, and a lot of just passing and keeping the ball for the sake of it. Whereas I think under Van Bronckhorst, I feel as if Rangers have been more direct, and I think the likes of Wright featuring at times and Sakala, they're two players that like to get the ball and run at you, and that's just in my opinion. I mean, I might be seeing something totally different for other people. It just depends how you look at the game. But in my opinion, I feel as if it's not been like attack and gun ho and leaving numbers, leaving the back or anything like that. But I just think when they're getting in the final third, it's like being direct, going towards the box and going for a goal rather than like that. I felt at times Rangers have been passing it along the edge of the box and nobody's been having a pop at goal for 20 odd yards and stuff like that. So listen, it's still got another 6 months of the season to go, but for what supporters have seen so far, they have got to be pleased with the way it's happened. But I've seen it before, players getting a new lease of life under managers straight away, because it's easy. How many times have you seen a team like Ayr were in a slump and then they sack the manager, then they go and win 2 games? It happens all the time, at all different levels. When the got a new manager in, or the old manager gets a sack, the team go on a run of 2 or 3 wins and stuff like that. So still a huge 6 months to go, and if he continues the way that he started, then Rangers will not be far away.
Wilson, how would you rate the spell of Ange Postecoglou so far? Have you been impressed, and has he exceeded your expectations so far?
Again, it's hard, in my lifetime to not see a Rangers and Celtic 1-2, in the league and for the honours. I think in a way he's probably exceeded the expectation. I think there was a bit of a shaky start. Again, you don't know much about the kind of new signings that he's brought in January. Obviously, Kyogo, he's found a diamond there, who's done reasonably well. I say won the League Cup, so gets a trophy under his belt early as well. Again, I feared the worst when they obviously had the COVID outbreak and this team against St Johnstone, but they managed to get through that game. But the 6 point, I just always see Celtic, they could lose any game and equally they could win their games as well. It just depends what Celtic turn up. It'll be definitely interesting to see new signings. Again, I don't know anything about them. I absolutely don't know anything about them. But I would find it surprised if we can pick another 3 players from that league and all come in and do as well as Kyogo's done. Maybe some of them need a wee bit of time to settle, and they may become good players. But I think in terms of the players that left and the way the previous season was, I would say he's possibly exceeded the expectations. But again, I think a big chunk of the season is going to come down to the next few weeks. I think the game against Hibs tomorrow is absolutely massive. And obviously every Old Firm game's massive as well. So, but as I've said before, and I'll say it again, if Celtic are to lose the Old Firm game, then I don't think he's going to be able to win the league that in his first season, which, and we've kind of discussed this in our chat, I don't know if that's the expectation from Celtic fans, to be honest.
I think a trophy, like winning that trophy.
They've already won a trophy. I don't know what the expectation is. If they think they've got a chance, I mean,
I think it's just to challenge and kind of give a bit like a creditable season as opposed to like last season, which was a disaster in every way.
I think you're right there. And as I say, I think the word we hear a lot is the project. The buying into the project, buying into the whatever. But again, as I say, we've discussed this a million times on here.
There's no doubt there's a long-term plan.
How long does he get? Because
I think that's a long-term plan, because he's not getting all these players. It looks as if he's picking the players. We couldn't say that this time last year. But
and that's fine.
I think there is a long-term plan.
If there's a long-term plan, but if he goes 3 years and doesn't win a league, is that long-term plan?
Yeah.
Or is it? Are they going to wait till Rangers win 9 in a row, then they stop the 10, and that's acceptable? I don't think so. I think if he doesn't win a league within maybe, I don't think this year. I think it's just a wee bit too much this year. Even the following year, maybe the year after. How long does he get? And as I said, we've discussed this as well on here. If Gerrard had won 3 League Cups and 3 Scottish Cups and not stopped 10 in a row, he would be classed as a failure. I've no doubts about that, because it's this haloed 10 in a row. And I think, if Ange Postecoglou wins a couple of Scottish Cups, a couple of League Cups in the next 3 years, but doesn't he win the league, then this long-term project ain't happening. This long-term project's getting cut. But as I say, it'll be interesting the next few weeks. I would think by after the Old Firm game, I think we'll have a better idea who's going to win the league.
Wilson, would you take Mikey Johnson at Kilmarnock?
No. No, I think Derek McInnes needs to look at some centre midfielders. Just before we come on here, when they talk about Lee Griffiths, absolutely take Lee Griffiths in a heartbeat at Rugby Park. Same can be said for Kyle Lafferty. That'd be an interesting front two, right enough. Lafferty and Griffiths up front. But I think there's areas, we've still got Chris Burke. Johnson can play wide as well. As I say, I think I'd be looking at more centre midfielders.
A creative midfielder was the one thing I thought they were screaming out for on Friday night. I just thought there was something missing in the middle.
Something missing? I think that's a big bugbear for Kelly fans. It's that central midfield position. I don't think Olsen, McGinn, etc. get good press. But I think that's where he needs to strengthen. Great signing in Ash Taylor. That's the type.
Mackay could be a good signing as well. He could be
Yeah. As I say, we need to score some goals. As I say, I don't think Friday night was a great performance, but you didn't lose the game, so fair play. But no, I would rather maybe if Celtic offered us Callum McGregor or Rogic, I would take them on loan if they were wanting at Rugby Park.
Shankers, is a permanent deal for Jota and Carter Vickers a no-brainer?
I think it is. Obviously, the only downfall is when loan players go out and perform well, then it'll obviously attract other teams coming in for them if they're not going back to a parent club. But I think it would make sense for Celtic to, if the deal's right, i.e. is Tottenham only wanting crazy money for them, because I don't know how many appearances he's had for Tottenham. I don't know how many appearances Jota's had for Benfica, but the club can't be demanding too much money for them if they're not featuring for them. So I think if it makes sense, both players, for both players to come, it'd be a no-brainer going for them. Jota especially. Celtic, I think, I've got the most clean sheets in the league, if I'm right.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
So Carter Vickers is obviously doing something right at the back, because he's been playing the majority of the games. Jota's been scoring goals and assisting goals as well, and it looks as if he's maybe that's him back fit again in training. So that's a huge boost for Celtic ahead of tomorrow night as well, because they've got a big game there. But I think it's a no-brainer for Celtic to try and sign the two players in it. There you go.
Wilson, what club has done the best business in the Premiership so far this window? I'm going to say Hibs, but I'll give it to you.
In terms of volume of numbers, and as you said about Jota and Carter Vickers, you would look at Celtic as well. Sean Maloney seems to be getting a few in as well, but again, sometimes it's quality, not quantity. You can bring in 6 or 7. And maybe only 2 or 3 work. So Hibs and Celtic have probably done the most business. I still think there'll be a few shocks before the January window closes. But I think because there's been no Premiership games, it's been all quite quiet. I'll be honest. I was expecting, as soon as it opened, bids, reports of bids for Aribo and bids for Kent, and Celtic maybe giving out price for Jota, and I was expecting a wee bit more. But I think maybe because the games have been off, or in the winter break, I found it quite surprising. As I say, I was expecting a lot more to be done, but Hibs and Celtic, in terms of quantity, are certainly going there. I don't know much about the guys at Sean Maloney's side, but as I say, Hibs have obviously backed him with some money, so fair play.
Shankers, could Arbroath do the unthinkable and win the Championship, or will they fall away?
In my opinion, I think they'll fall away. I hope they don't. I hope they do go on and win it, because I think it would be a remarkable achievement. Something similar to Leicester City winning the Premier League, in my opinion. So I hope they do, but unfortunately, I think Kilmarnock, Inverness, teams like that will, in the longer run, I think they'll last the pace. I think there's still plenty more football to be played, plenty more points to be dropped. It's getting really, really tight at the top of that league. So 3 points every week is absolutely massive, and it's one that I'll definitely be keeping my eye on to see who comes out on top. But I think Arbroath might come up short. I think they're stuck on for the playoffs, so whether they could go up that way. But if the question is, do I think they could go on and win the league? I don't think they will.
I'd absolutely love to see it, but I just have that strange feeling there could be a kind of wee dip.
I think losing the 2 players
back to
their parent clubs is a big blow, and whether they've got able replacements coming in for them, whether they're up to the same, I'm not saying the same standard, but whether they come in and replicate what they two done in the first half of the season, it'll be hard to do that. So I hope they do, but as I said, I'm a wee bit worried. Not worried for them, but I just think they can fall away.
Wilson, we'll give this to everybody, but we'll start with you. Who's the best player out with the Scottish Premiership in Scottish football?
Chris Buck. And maybe not so much this season. It was kind of used off and on with Tommy Wright, but in previous seasons, Chris Buck's been an outstanding player for Kilmarnock. Other teams, that's a good question. I don't know if I read that one in the notes.
No, it's on the notes.
Zach Hemming at Kilmarnock as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Has a really good season as well. He's probably the pick of the bunch. Who's the guy? The guy at Inverness, Cut Broadfoot. He seems to have had a steady season as well. Whether he's the best in the Championship, I don't know.
I've got one in the league. I've got one in League One. I've got one in League One that sticks out. Simon Murray should be playing at a higher level. Like Simon Murray.
Is that the boy who was at Hibs and went to South Africa? Is that right?
United as well. He's at Queen's Park. I think he's far too good to be playing in League One.
You know, guys, I mean, again, I don't know if they're the best players, but Joe Cardle seems to be having a good season.
Joe Cardle, Nathan Austin scores every week.
I quite like the boy Zach Rudden at Partick as well. Like Stuart Bannigan at Partick's a good player.
Michael McKenna at Bro's doing really well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys, you know. And
David Goodwillie scores every week.
David Goodwillie's frightening.
Aye.
Kelly Wilson.
David Goodwillie, 100%.
Would you actually?
I absolutely take him in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Shankers, who you got?
Chris Buck is one that I would also agree with. Rooney Mackenzie as well. He comes under some harsh criticism, but Rooney Mackenzie would get in. I would say Rooney Mackenzie would get in 5 or 6 of the teams in the bottom half, I must say, but he would still get in. I think. Oh no, I'm not saying I'm struggling. I'm not saying they're all pish or anything like that, but I'm struggling for somebody that stands out as the kind of
I think
best.
that reflects on how tight the league is, though, as well.
Aye, definitely.
It's so tight, you know. A couple of good wins, and there must be guys at Wraith Rovers that are doing really well.
Billy Mackay's a clever player.
Billy Mackay's a good
Billy
player.
Mackay for Inverness. He's scored goals in the.
I like the boy McGregor at Inverness as well. I think he's a good prospect.
There is plenty. I think that's reflected. And as I say, there must be boys.
Fraser Five players like that.
Over Rangers, Megginson as well. You know, it's right open.
Could easily play in the Championship. Not a problem. Premier League even as well.
Aye. Shankers, what's been the biggest surprise so far in the West of Scotland Premier Division table?
Talbot's no top.
No saying. I don't think there's been surprises. I mean, it's a competitive league, and I still think there's still loads and loads of football to be played. I think surprise.
Can I throw one in? Do you remember at the start of the season we were saying about Hurlford, just how we thought they would struggle to stay up? We spoke to Darren and things like that. I don't think anybody at Hurlford thought they'd be sitting 6th in the league at this time of the year.
See, I'm not saying he played it down, but I think
I maybe did play it down.
I'm not saying he played it down because deep down he would have believed that the squad of players he had could go well. But I think with the calibre of player that they lost, I think it would have been hard for them to. I think I'm not saying harder. I'm trying to put it right. I think they maybe thought they wouldn't be where they are and found themselves higher than where they are. But I'm not surprised because they've got right good players. So I wouldn't say I'm surprised by that. Maybe just all the talk of the players that were leaving and stuff like that is maybe a surprise that they're higher than what they are. But I'm not surprised because I wouldn't say there's any.
Nah, there's no
too much surprises. It's a hard one to. I'm not saying that I'm shocked about anything.
Give you another one. Do you think the West of Scotland can bridge the gap with the SPFL in the next few years? Like so, top teams like yourselves, Darvel. Do you think if they do go up to the the SPFL in the next few years? I think you can cope well.
100%. I think if all those teams were League Two, say your top 12 in the league were League Two, at the moment, I think you would have a right good. No, top 12. Is it 10 that's in League Two?
Nah.
Top 10 teams were in League Two. You would have a right good League Two sitting there. So I think majority of the teams at the kind of top end of the table would compete in League Two, pushing for League One as well. So definitely, same with Celtic. I know Celtic signed players that can play in the League One Championship as well. So it's hard one for them. Theirs is a bigger project, I would say. So I think other than Celtic, I'm not saying other than Celtic, in a one-off game, of course you could mix it up with them and give them a game. But I think over the course of the season, they would probably be the strongest team. But if say they're looking like they're going up, top 8, 6 teams in the league could go and compete in League Two without a doubt. I think.
Wilson, can you see past Cove and Kelty in League 1 and 2?
I can't see past Kelty. No, I think they'll go up as champions. Cove, I've kind of pulled away slightly as I think I backed Falkirk at the start of the season to win that league.
I backed Cove. Well, no backed them. But I says that
your prediction.
I went for Cove as well. I know. Did I maybe go for Queen's Park?
Aye.
I think you were Queen's Park. Aye.
You were on the money train.
No, well, as I say, I think Kelty are stick-ons.
I think we'll win for Kelty, didn't we?
Cove, I don't know if they're stick-ons, but I think they'll be there or thereabouts in that league, yeah.
I think they've done pretty well. Shankers, how are you going to get your golf handicap down in 2022?
That's from a Mr. T. Wood.
It'll be an absolute miracle if I get my handicap done. But my plan, I play off 16 just now. My plan is to be down at the 11-12 mark by the end of the season. I don't think that's an unrealistic goal. Although if I start the way I finish the season, it could be up the way that I could be going. But now with away and stuff like that, it's just trying to find the time to play consistently to be getting your scores done. So it'd be, once we got a break in the summer, that could be my time to try and get my handicap done. But I'll not be too worried because the higher it is, the more shots I get in the tournaments and stuff like that.
We've got a question here for basically, we're staying on the subject. You brought up children there. Who's taking over as interim CEO when Scott goes off on paternity? Give us to Wilson. Wilson seems to be the more experienced.
I would like to think the Phoenix from the Flames would be Rory Loy. His ever-growing media career would come back and take over at SM Media Towers. It'll be a massive loss to podcasts and Twitter and our WhatsApp group when you're changing nappies and things. But we'll keep you informed. I mean, as I said, I would expect viewers and hits to go through the roof if it was just me and Shankers, like the two Ronnies. But it'll be a well-earned break for you, Scott. Trust me.
Wilson, what advice would you? I can't believe I'm asking this. What advice would you give to young coaches like to start out in the game?
Oh, well, as a veteran now, the coaches coaching now, plan and prepare. I think that's the biggest thing. As I say, not quite so much maybe at Mark's level, but at amateur level where you sit in a Wednesday lunchtime, you've got 18 players, and that's fine. You sit and you doodle some ideas down. Can we do this, do that? And then with 5 minutes to training, 3 folk call off, and you've got an odd number and no goalkeepers, and the excuses range from watching their kids to dyeing their hair to feeding their cat. It's very, very difficult. If you're coaching young children, patience, but again, make sure you plan and prepare your sessions. I think that's the biggest thing. And when you work with amateurs, you become grumpy and you shout at them and all that because they don't do as you say. But that's I would think for any aspiring coach. But as you know, Scott, how good my coaching is. You were a former young apprentice on it. So
yeah. Guardiola.
How much preparation goes into a week in the life of Sturton United?
Well, I let my young apprentice at Sturton, Johnny Sinclair, take a Monday session, and to be fair, Johnny's a lot younger. It's amazing how better his coaching is. All new ideas and things. I still work on like crossing and finishing and all that, and he's talking about switching the point of attack and the third man press and all these
things. Is he talking about zone 14?
Because I'm just getting to tube it into channels, punt and hunt as such. So, and then a Wednesday night, obviously we can take in turns and do wee bits and bobs. So, again, it's see guys in amateur football, and I'm just speaking for Sturton, they need to be active for the full session. See if you give them a minute's break or a minute to set something up, like booting balls over the fence and messing about. So small kind of condition games, keeping everyone involved. It's great if you get two goalkeepers at training. You're playing simple games, 2-3 touch into full games at the end. And then obviously a Saturday, to be fair, Perry's a gaffer. Perry does the kind of team talks. We run through set pieces. I'll take the warm up, but he's the voice of the side. I become who was it the boys were saying? Steve Round, but not because of my coaching ability, more because of my shape. And Perry's more Arteta at the side of the park.
Wilson, who will win the Super Bowl?
Oh, I saw it on my face there. It's not going to be him watching it. As I say, if I was a betting man, I'd be looking at Kansas City or Green Bay.
That would be my.
What Green one Bay. Does the guy Tom?
He's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing.
Yeah, they're playing 31-15 up with 4 minutes 45 left.
31-0.
What is this? And is this?
That's basically the playoffs. It's like
this in effect would be the last 16.
Aye, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much last 16.
I'm going between.
Do you follow a team, Wilson? Do you follow a team?
Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles. They're getting
they're heading.
My sister-in-law follows them as well.
Aye, toast. They're getting toasted now, but
they got a kind of greenish strip.
Aye, green and white.
I'm absolutely perplexed that you follow them.
I spent a wee bit of time there in my youth. That's why.
Right, let's see if we can agree. That's a good question. Who would be in your Mount Rushmore of Scottish football? This is quite a hard one. I've been thinking about this for ages.
I'm not going to lie. I had a wee joke and I think I don't get this question.
Right, you pick. It's basically Wilson. Oh no, Wilson's a US president's geek like me. Four big figures. Four like.
Do they have to be Scottish?
Yeah, well, they have to be involved in Scottish football and have like a legacy.
So they have to be involved in Scottish football.
Aye,
but they don't have to be Scottish.
No.
Well,
the four I come up with are Scottish, so to be fair.
Well, if I was going with managers, for example,
aye,
then it would be Steen, Ferguson, Walter Smith, and Steve Clark. I would think Steve would just scrape into it, I think, just now. If it was Scottish players, that would be so hard. But and again, you're looking. I'm only looking at my era for the players, for Scottish players. So it would be Souness, Dalglish, Davy Cooper, probably Alan McCoist or Mo Johnson. Mo Johnson was great for Scotland.
The four I've went with are Alex Ferguson, Walter Smith, Jock Stein, and Kenny Dalglish. They're the four that immediately came to my head. I've mixed them all together, so that's a pretty good. That's a good question, isn't it?
And I said if it was people involved in Scottish football, again, but again, even as a player, somebody like Ray Wilkins, unbelievable player, Larson, Laudrup, Gascoigne. The list's absolutely endless. You could do it all day. But that's the way I looked at it. No. And then if you're looking at, things. I mean, I actually saw it on Twitter today. I was thinking, obviously, saying Brendan Rodgers. for the trophies. But then someone pointed out to me on Twitter today that with the trophies Alex McLeish won.
I've seen a post about that.
I think he goes a wee bit under the radar.
Nah, he does.
Because I suppose you're only judged in your last job. It was at Scotland. It wasn't too successful the second time round.
My 4 would be
Alex McLeish, things that they did.
My 4 would be Bertie Vokes, George Burley, Craig Levine, and Paul Le Guen.
I actually think Paul Le Guen will be insulted.
He's in some great company. Realistically, like, take it they don't need to be from your era.
No, not well.
Well, I did the players from my era watching, Scotland players, but
they're the 4 I come down on. They're more kind of, 3 of them are obviously kind of main kind of managers, but Douglas, I think you can't take Dennis Law. You could probably put in as well. Like,
we didn't see much of him.
No, I know, but I'm just going to like history and things like that.
Ferguson, Smith, and Steen type. Basically, they're kind of like 3
like Busby, you're taking out Busby and Shankers as well. Like they talk about trophies. Like.
I know, I laughed, but like Steve Clarke of this era could, if he gets to the World Cup, his name is up there in the history. You know what I mean? For forever, how long? 2 consecutive tournaments after God knows how many years. So like, I know we're laughing, but. Like,
you get an argument for Craig Brown as well.
Yeah.
And I think because he maybe didn't have the stellar playing career as the ones we've mentioned, you look at Craig Brown and you think the gap since then, who's been in the job and what we've done, it's very strange.
I was down at the driving range and I see the wee Irvin having my lunch. I think it was a Saturday morning or something, and he was sitting at the table just along. I think he goes to the driving range and for a wee hit.
Great
you can double take, and you're like, is that him just quite casually sitting amongst folk, and you think, and for things that folk like him have done in the game and that as well.
Right, last couple of questions. Should the Ilfam allocation go back to what it was in previous years? Wilson, I know that's a big bearer of yours.
100%. I always think it's better winning games away from home for any fan, because you maybe get on the supporters' buses or trains or whatever, and maybe a couple of refreshments. And away crowds usually tend to be a wee bit more vociferous than the home crowds. Again, I understand why kind of restrictions were put in place, but I actually think, imagine being a Celtic or Rangers fan of one of 700-800 and winning, at the ground with the other 50,000-60,000 are supporting another team. It must be some, laugh as well. But I wish they would just come up with. But I mean, as I say, I'm not being Celtic deserve it. Again, I understand the Rangers fans' frustrations that they get a lot of those tickets that they get are restricted views. I just think there should be something put in place where they can get an equal number of fans and make the atmosphere. But I know the atmosphere is bad, with all one team. But I just think there needs to be some common sense. But as I say, I understand the arguments in both sides. But I think if I was ever to play in one, don't think that's going to happen. Then if I was at Ibrox at Parkhead, I would like some sort of away support there. Definitely,
I'd agree with that. I think you just think it's better the way it was in the past. I think that's the way I would go down.
But again, I understand the situation where if you buy a season ticket, for example, for the Brimley Road area.
Yeah,
and you're told that you don't get the Celtic games, but you can come and watch Dundee United because other teams don't sell that.
Aye.
And also the thing is, they're paying less money than what other areas of the ground is as well, because they know that situation. Yeah. So it's the arguments for and against, and you could argue all day about it, but I don't see it going back anytime soon.
Nah, I don't think. I think it involves both teams going into a room and sorting it out. I doubt that's going to happen in the near future. But I think I can see both sides of it, but I think just it's the atmosphere going to them as well.
Is it what happens? Like, just say for example, they're drawn in the cup in the next round, say the fifth round. It's obviously usually semis after at Hampden, but what happens is it still a split gate, so it's 50-50? Do they still do that?
What, at Hampden?
Aye.
No.
Aye, so just
say it's Rangers v Celtic. So what would Celtic get in the cup?
I think it would just be the same. I think it would just be the 800. I think that would be the.
They'd only get the 800 fans.
Aye. I think so.
I thought it would have to be some sort of. I thought it would have to be split gate because.
No. So
like home game,
split the gate of the capacity. Well, see, like an FA Cup. Who was playing? Liverpool were playing Shrewsbury. So Liverpool, at Anfield, you only get the wee corner, but they had the full behind the goals because normally in the FA Cup they give them a bigger allocation.
Yeah.
And but I think just because of what has happened and how petty it is, they would just.
I think it was at Chesterfield as well.
Had the full behind the goals and stuff.
Behind the goal. Just one of those things. A different allocation for cup games.
Shankers, whose shirt do you want on Saturday, and how many goals are you going to score?
I think I would like to get Andy Halliday's shirt. He's lived the dream for me. Still a good player, just now playing with a top team. So for me, that would be him. Although if John Souttar signs with Rangers in January, it could possibly get his as well. But how many goals am I going to score? Well, we've got a race against time now, so I can't answer that one just now. But we could possibly. I'll settle for one this week. One all day, I think.
We'll be cheering you on.
Would you? Absolutely. Would you? If does it play to a finish? Yeah.
Aye. Yep.
If you're on the pitch, whether start or come on as a sub, would you be one of the 5 that hit a penalty?
Aye, 100%. Aye.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay.
Right. I would just bench them.
We'll do a wee preview on it during the week, obviously. Get more thoughts.
Craig Gordon, if you're watching.
Right, final question. That's a good one to give us all a wee answer before we go off here. What's the best chant or banner you've ever seen / heard at a football match? Wilson, you must have seen some pearlers in your time, or created some maybe as well.
I would be
created some.
I'm absolutely shocked by some of the chants I've heard at the football banners. I mean, one thing. As I say, my wee boys keep asking to do it. See these ones now. You know,
can I please get
your shirt? You know,
we're singing football.
Honestly, again, I'll be dropping this Old Trafford trip forever. When we went down to Old Trafford, we're behind the goal to Stretford Road end, and we kind of waited behind so we could get pictures with the kids. Blah 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 blah. There was Man United fans taking Wolves strips. Wolves players were giving their strips to Man United fans in that tunnel area, and I'm going, that is enemy.
Imagine like Roy Keane doing. Imagine like Roy Keane seeing that. Like
when he got away with it. I would say some of the banners, and again they'll be he goes again. Some of the banners when Rangers had their administrative problems, and I say I always wonder. See when I see these banners from, you know, it's usually the Green Brigade or other sides. Well, how do they make them? They're absolutely massive. There must be a print works, and how do you get them into the ground? It used to be if you had I've seen it with the Tartan Army quite a lot, like Kilmarnock Scotland Supporters Club, and it's a big, you know, salter, and it's in a bin bag, and the folk are searching the bin. I'm going, how do they get that banner that covers 8 sections of parkhead in there? So some of those ones are quite entertaining. Best chance, you know, obviously. There's a lot about Air United's lack of success over the years, which I always find quite funny. But I think some of the best songs I've heard. I always enjoyed the Stuart Armstrong song. Celtic fans sang about Stuart Armstrong. I think the recent one is. But Sakala, I think that's that's good as well. And I think as much as I was disappointed with the result, I think when Rangers won at Easter Road, they sang the kind of ABBA version. They sang it for about 25 minutes, absolutely non-stop. I like ones like that. Ones with no sweary words and ones that maybe don't offend people. I know we had a couple of laughs in the chat earlier on about some song.
You can't say it nowadays without people getting offended. So
yeah, always used to enjoy. Partick Thistle used to have a couple of songs.
have you seen the Partick Thistle one that the singer actually sings on Twitter?
No, I've not seen it.
No.
No.
I'm not gonna start going into it, but like it's an actual proper like like a chant. It's a proper somebody singing a part of this song.
Right.
I'll share it in the WhatsApp.
I put it in the chat. Aye.
But,
So
really good.
Partick Thistle used to have a song about their dislike for Celtic and Rangers, and it was along the lines of they hate the boys in royal blue and emerald green. So. About two upstanding members of society as well, and they used to sing one about Kelly fans driving tractors as well, which was always good fun as well. So those are probably my favourites. But as I say, for this channel, a lot of the ones I wouldn't be.
I don't know if this one will maybe insult were Russian viewership, but there was. Do you remember going to Manchester and there was a song going about the Zenit fans that the Rangers fans were going to deep fry their vodka? Remember that? I don't know if
I'm going to deep
was.
fry your vodka.
There was one as well for Italy. Was it no Italian fans deep fry your pizza or something?
Aye, there was loads. There was loads, and the Tartan Army used to sing even when you were there. Things they would just make up, and it would be. But again, a lot of them aren't to be repeated on this.
Yeah, I mean, imagine knowing a football stadium like Hampden, you hear like Do a Deer and all that, and some of them belt it out like.
Oh, absolutely. It went to Wembley 1 year. The first time Scotland played at the new Wembley, and there was like 90,000. There was only 10,000. It was what a shitey home support, that kind of stuff. But there's been some. But maybe that's one for the viewers.
Aye.
Maybe that's what you'll want to the viewers. The best chance they've heard of the
best
football.
chant or banner you've ever seen at a game. Right, we're going to wrap up the questions. It's been an absolute pleasure to do the show. We're going to be back, obviously, during the week. We'll do a wee show during the week. I don't know if it'll be the same crew, but we'll do a wee show during the week to obviously look back in the action of the Premiership kicks off again. We'll preview the Scottish Cup. Obviously, Shankers Talbot side headline that against Hearts. We'll do that during the week. Thanks very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Predictions will be in tomorrow, Scott. Don't worry.
Will be in tomorrow. Thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels and follow us on social media. Thanks very much, everyone. See you soon. Cheers.